Shanks, for the little screen time he gets, will always be a main character off of that first chapter alone, and is usually seen reacting to Luffy's accomplishments, from Mihawk telling him Luffy's first bounty of 30 million berries, to Luffy just recently becoming a Yonko, the same status that he holds. And of course we know his meetings with Whitebeard to stop Blackbeard, and him coming to Marineford to stop the war, that of course Blackbeard was present during, and eventually challenging Blackbeard, who declines and says not yet, foreshadowing a future battle soon to come. But after Whitebeard and Ace's burial, and of course telling Luffy it's okay to cry, and how much he wanted Roger to cry so many times but he didn't, we then of course see that he's rarely seen again after this fact, and rarely hear from him or see him in the story. Like, the few times we actually do see him after the time skip was like in a cover story, or when a kid was trying to go after the Yonko Shanks. But now Oda can't stop showing Shanks. It's actually kind of weird as a fan seeing Shanks so much, especially in his island of Elbaf, where he used Conqueror's Haki and was there the time Loki was locked up 6 years ago. And Loki, a man worth 2.6 billion berries, has been locked up for the last 6 years, so his bounty should have been the same 6 years ago. So for Shanks to become a Yonko around that same time, I think definitely there's some connections there. Shanks obviously helped stop Loki on Elbaf, and now Loki is teasing info on Shanks to Luffy, but I believe this is not a good sign for the red-haired pirate, as all I see is death flags from Oda. I'll explain in this video why there's such a big death flags for red-haired Shanks. Now, I mentioned how after the time skip we rarely are heard of Shanks the character, but of course we did see him reacting to Luffy becoming a 5th emperor of the sea, and this was during the Reverie, and this is where Shanks starts to become a very reoccurring character. First of all, he meets with the Gorosei over a certain pirate. It has to be Blackbeard Teach, because he met with Whitebeard over Blackbeard, and I feel like they're the only ones who can understand why Shanks wants to talk about Blackbeard. It has to do with rocks. I just don't know yet. There's no confirmation, but there's a lot of evidence. So definitely it's a rocks reference. Saturn being on God Valley during the rocks versus Roger and Garp scenario. I think there's something to do with Blackbeard and Rock. His ship's name Saber Respect, for goodness sake. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. Then of course during the middle of Wano, we actually get a moment where Shanks' bounty is revealed. It's around 4 billion berries, the 3rd highest active bounty, only behind Kaido and Big Mom, his fellow Yonko, and his crew's power is gassed up. I'll be honest with you, when you have Ben Beckman, Yasop, and Lucky Rule, these 3 were comparable. And we've always known that the Red-Haired Pirates have been gassed up since Marineford, but to see that, of course, Brand New actually mentioned how their balance of their crew is insane. Like, of all the Yonko, like Big Mom for destroying a village of giants when she was a kid, or Kaido, of course, the strongest creature alive, like, they talk about those guys. But no, Shanks is his crew that gets really hyped up. I always thought that was very interesting. That means the crew has something to do with Shanks passing away as well. Then, of course, we see at the beginning of the rooftop, Shanks actually in Kaido's top 5. This is the same Kaido at the end of the Gear Fight 5th battle that told Luffy his strong Devil Fruit is pointless because Haki transcends all. And we all know that Shanks stopped Kaido from going to Whitebeard right before Marineford. So it makes me think, yo, does Kaido get a taste of Shanks' Haki and then put him in his top 5? And we know Shanks' Haki is insanely powerful, guys. Like, it's insane. And then of course at the end of Wano, or post Wano, we see Shanks thinks back on him defeating Who's Who in CP9 and getting Luffy's Nika Devil Fruit ability, but doesn't want to meet Luffy yet because there's some business back home with Bartolomeo, of course, which he definitely did deal with it. We saw recently in the manga. But all I'm trying to tell you guys is this: when it comes to Shanks thinking back on Luffy's Devil Fruit ability and then seeing the bounty poster of Luffy when it comes to Nika, I think that Shanks knew that Luffy's Devil Fruit was special. That's why he was so upset in chapter 1 that Luffy ate that Devil Fruit ability. It wasn't the Gomu Gomu no Mi. It was a special Devil Fruit, the Nika fruit. I think Shanks knows, and the fact that Gorosei were talking about how they've been chasing it for hundreds of centuries and years, and it keeps avoiding them because it's a mythical Zoan and they have a mind of its own. There's so much things that Shanks is keeping secret. This guy knows a lot. Like, think about this: since Roger died, yo, he's been relatively keeping it low key. Just recently became a Yonko 6 years ago. Then, of course, we finally see Shanks in action. Well, not really, but like he kind of flexes Conqueror's Hockey, but not on the level of knocking out fodder when he met with the Whitebeard pirates. It was a completely different level where Shanks froze an Admiral Green Bull, which we never really saw in the series. Like Admirals are comparable to Yonko before this. Like we always see the Marine Ford, and of course the debate there. And then Kizaru wanted to come to Wano, so to see Green Bull and Admiral, a new Admiral at that, getting frozen by Shanks' Conqueror's Hockey. Oda is giving Shanks insane feats before his demise, in my opinion. That's another death flag, yo. Shanks, characters that get hyped, that's a death flag. Like, why are you hyping up Shanks so much lately? Is it because you feel like the fans are not gonna have to? Shanks is such a built-up character, like you have to give us some of these good moments before he actually falls. And something that I really want to talk about is Shanks dropping off Marco to Sphinx Island, of course, the hometown of Whitebeard, where Marco was before he actually came to Wano. And the reason why this is so interesting to me is because I think Marco definitely gave Shanks info on Teach. Marco and Teach were around the same age. Like when you see that one moment where, of course, their Whitebeard is telling everyone to leave Fishman Island alone, and we see Marco, Jozu, and Teach together. Teach was supposed to be the 2nd Division commander. Think about that, guys, with Jozu the 3rd Division commander and Marco the 1st Division commander. It seems like Teach, Marco, and Jozu were the young guns of the Whitebeard pirates, if I'm being completely honest. Now, I do want to say this. We saw during Owen's flashback, Marco gave info on Shanks to Teach, saying they've always been with the Roger Pirates, and we know Shanks thought it was cool that Blackbeard didn't sleep, and Buggy said, nah, he's a monster. And Marco, knowing how his body is different from regular people during Marine Force, saying that, and Shanks asking Marco to join Shanks' crew twice, once when meeting with Whitebeard, and the second time when he was dropping him off, and Marco said, I'm tired of babysitting you great pirates. And Shanks, I think Shanks, that journey from Wano to, of course, Sphinx Island, Marco was explaining to Shanks who Blackbeard truly is. He literally was with Blackbeard for 2 decades, even nearly 3 decades, if I'm being completely honest, guys. So yeah, he would know of all people how Blackbeard is, and Shanks got some valuable information about Blackbeard. Then, of course, we see Shanks, while, of course, he went to go destroy Kid with Divine Departure, using a Pirate King move Oda recently revealed only he can do. Like, again, Oda just, of course, hyping up Shanks to levels just not seen before. He's actually searching for Blackbeard while he's confronting Kid. Yo, he's looking for information on Blackbeard, and he finds out that Blackbeard still wasn't on Paradise and Beehive. He's after him, and Oda hinted that a battle is coming very soon. And I feel like that's the reason why he revealed all of his insane hockey feats, like Divine Departure, Conqueror's Hockey Coding, and of course Future Sight that sees 10 seconds into the future, the greatest Future Sight feat we've ever seen in the One Piece story. So yeah, it's happening, guys. It's happening. I know that meme, but it's actually happening. And then right after this, we see Buggy actually gasses up Shanks' potential, saying that I always saw you as the next king after Roger. So to see Shanks say he's not gonna go after the One Piece just yet really disappointed Buggy. And I feel like Oda showed that for a reason, because Shanks did say he would bring his crew to Laugh-Tale, and that's the right reason why he didn't go with Roger and the Pirates and stayed back with Buggy when he was sick. But to see that Shanks, of course, said that, something happened, something was told to him. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but yeah, something happened definitely that made him not go for the One Piece right away, because now you saw at the end of Wano, he's literally telling back, let's go claim the One Piece, yo. He's locked in. He even told Kid, give me all your Road Polar gifts, yo. He's locked in for sure. And then, of course, we have to admit, Oda revealed Figurland Garling, of course, the Holy Knight Commander, and the executing of a Celestial Drake, and we know that Red Film Red, that Shanks is connected, the Gorosei said he is connected to the Figurland family. And, of course, seeing that this guy, Figurland Garling, is an old dude and looks extremely powerful, the theories wrote themselves, yo. Shanks' dad. Everyone said it. Shanks' dad. And it definitely didn't help when we saw something else. Yep, that's right. When Oda revealed a young Figurland Garling on God Valley, he looked exactly like Shanks, minus the haircut. Definitely looked exactly like Shanks. And the fact that he fought Roger as well, and Shanks, of course, was found on God Valley at 1 year old in a treasure chest. And the fact, like, I just genuinely believe, like, definitely Shanks is Celestial Dragon, and he's Figurland from the Figurland family, and Figurland Garling, it looks exactly like him. It writes itself, yo. And of course, in chapter 1121, we see that silhouette that we haven't seen before of a swordsman. Looks like the strongest Holy Knight. And then, of course, seeing, of course, the fact that the Holy Knight silhouette we saw, where Dragon was talking about them, it looks exactly like Shanks. Shanks might have a brother, yo. Shanks might have a brother that's Figurland something. So yeah. And then, of course, the icing on the cake was Figurland Garling actually becoming a Gorosei. The same men that Shanks met up with, talk about a certain pirate. And I feel like this is kind of hinting that Figurland Garling as a Gorosei will see Shanks again. And when they meet, it's not gonna be the same because there's actually some history there. Not crazy history, but history on Figureland's side, like saying like, "Oh, you're my child. I haven't seen you since you were a kid when you got kidnapped." I think maybe they even met before or prior. All I'm saying is that there's something going on with this Figureland plot line that's definitely gonna hint at Shanks' death leg as well. And then of course, this is probably the biggest death leg I've seen of all the things, and it's the most minor thing. He's drinking drunk when Vegapunk's message is being told, talking about the Roger Pirates, the One Piece treasure, the world sinking, all these lore, Joy Boy, everything. Shanks is drinking. He's getting drunk. I've always said this, Shanks knows too much, and that's why he hasn't gone for the One Piece the same level as Big Mom and Kaido. He knows too much, and that's why he's being more, how to say this, meticulous. Like, he's literally friends with the Roger Pirates. He's a part of the Roger Pirates. Like, he knows, he knows the guys that were there on Laughtail. You think they're not going to give hints to Shanks? And the fact that Roger, of all people, like, he's not going to give hints to Shanks after coming back? It's different, guys. It's different. And then, of course, Shanks has recently got his haki compared to a dead man. Yes, that's right, Joy Boy. When Joy Boy's dead haki for the Void Century and turned the Gorosei into humans and knocked off Vice Admirals and all the Marines and sent the Gorosei back to Mary Joy, the Holy Land, where even Imu was feeling Joy Boy's haki and got PTSD. The fact that Dorian Braga compared this to Shanks, but saying Shanks was more hostile, but saying Joy Boy's haki seemed to be a little bit better, a little stronger, makes me think, guys, Shanks is literally maxed out his haki strength. And Kaido said haki transcends all. This guy is too powerful. At this point, Oda, do you want to make this guy the Pirate King? There's only one way to keep Shanks alive if you want Luffy to take him down. But I don't think Oda's going that route. So if Luffy's not going to take him down, I have another idea. I remember during Oden's flashback, Roger made Shanks cry by telling him something. And I think it had to do with, of course, God Valley and the origins of Shanks, and, of course, the future of the One Piece story when it comes to Laughtail. He comes back from Laughtail and makes Shanks cry. It has to do with the Cecil Dragons, Willie D, and all that. And it will be revealed when, of course, he does pass away. And I think it's going to have to do with Blackbeard, Rocks, God Valley. It will all be connected. But don't forget this, yo. You're probably thinking, how does Blackbeard lose? I mean, how does Shanks lose? Well, I just kind of spoiled it right now. Blackbeard scarred Shanks while he was on guard without the Yami Yami no Mi or the Gurgur no Mi. The only way I think he could have done this is if maybe it's connected to Rock, some innate power within him. And I think that Blackbeard will use the same ability he did to scar Shanks. Shanks was extremely powerful when Blackbeard did it, guys. He wasn't no punk. I think Blackbeard will do it again. And it goes beyond haki, guys, and it goes beyond Delphus, yo. It's something that Blackbeard is gaining that's not his own strength, yo. It's not his own power, and I can't wait to see it, guys. So yeah, that's my video on Shanks having crazy death legs. I didn't go really too in depth like I usually do with Shanks, but I've talked about him so much, I don't think I have to go in depth. All I'm trying to tell you guys is that recently he's been talked about a lot, especially with Elbaf being his arc and Oda foreshadowing that these two strong dudes will fight, which of course Blackbeard fought Law, Shanks fought Kid. Like, they both beat those guys and took the role opponent gives. Yeah, Blackbeard and Shanks are gonna fight. Shanks is gonna die, and it's gonna build up Luffy versus Blackbeard because Luffy's literally lying to the Giants just to get information on Shanks. Imagine when he finds out Shanks got killed by Blackbeard. And don't forget, when Luffy first met Blackbeard on Jaya and Blackbeard gave that speech, he thought about Ace and Shanks, and Ace actually passed away because of Blackbeard's doing. So Oda could have been foreshadowing that Shanks also will pass away because of Blackbeard's doing, but maybe in a more direct way. So yeah, that's my thoughts with Shanks' death legs, guys. It's getting crazy. One Piece is getting fire, guys. It's getting hype.